Hello and welcome to this wee video about some of the ritualistic items that I use in my ceremonies. My name's Lindy Irving, or Reverend Lindy Irving. I'm an interfaith minister and celebrant, and being an interfaith minister just means that I serve people of all faiths and none. And I can usually be found in the beautiful central Scotland, but this weekend I'm a wee bit further north because I'm actually on the Outer Hebrides. I'm right away up in the Western Isles of Scotland, and that's because I come here as often as I possibly can for some spiritual unwinding, but also to purchase or find some of the items that we're just going to talk about, some of the items that can be used in your ceremony. And talking about ceremonies, I conduct all different types of ceremonies, not just wedding ceremonies, but everything from legal marriage ceremonies to just the ceremonial wedding ceremonies, vow renewals, commitment ceremonies, baby blessings, baby namings, you name it, there's a ceremony for it. But why do people have rituals within their ceremony? Well, I think that's because rituals have been a part of the human journey since time began, and rituals speak to us, they connect with us on a level that words just can't. You only have to watch one of these beautiful rituals taking place, whether it be a hand fasting or a quake, even just the lighting of a candle, if it's done with the proper intention, all of a sudden becomes very meaningful, and we feel as if we're all part of a single energy and that we have invoked something bigger than ourselves to come into the space and join us. And that's what we're trying to do through your ceremony. So not only are these very visually beautiful rituals that all your guests can sit and watch and just really feel connected to, and your photographs are going to be beautiful, but they bring an energy and a depth of meaning into your ceremony that it just can't be done with words alone. And so let's look at just some of the ceremonies, the most common ceremonies, or the ones that I'm asked for the most, because there are lots and lots of different rituals. This is not an exhaustive list by any manner of means, but these are the ones that I'm most often asked for. And so first of all, hand fasting. Now these look like some pretty big hand fasting ribbons, don't they? But this is actually the material from which I make the hand fastings. Now hand fastings themselves, an old Scottish custom. If you can imagine, and I'll tag some photographs of this place onto the end of it, so if you can imagine just outside the window here, and I'll try and let you see. So as you can imagine, it's quite isolated up in these areas. And if we go back hundreds and hundreds of years ago, when we would have these young couples who would get together and would decide that they wanted to become husband and wife, but communities very often didn't have a clergy member within them, and so the couple might have to wait months and months before one of the visiting clergy members would come and conduct all the weddings. So instead, the hand fasting was born. And when a couple decided that they wanted to become husband and wife, they would each take a piece of material to represent their own clans, and they would go off to the edge of the loch or up into a forest clearing, maybe with a clan chief or somebody important within their community, and their hands would be bound together, tied together to represent them making these vows to each other, this commitment to each other as husband and wife. So these hand fastings have been getting conducted for hundreds and hundreds of years. And they're very beautiful. So as I say, this is the material I make them from. This is Harris tweed, and it's made here in the Outer Hebrides. It has to be made here to be called Harris tweed, and it's still made the old-fashioned way on hand looms. So people sit in their houses, they have their looms. There's maybe sometimes I think between 600 and 1,000 threads on the looms, and they just sit there and work them back and forward to create these beautiful pieces of art, really, aren't they? And these then get made into cushions. they get made into curtains, they get made into slippers, they get made into jackets, but of course for me they get made into hand fasting ribbons. So this is what I make my ribbons with, and so I call them Harris hand fastings. One of the other rituals that I often get asked for is the oathing stone. This is an oathing stone. It's very, very heavy, and it looks as if I've had this specially made, but if you've watched any of my other videos, you will know that actually I found this, and I found it here in the Isle of Lewis about 2 years ago. I came up here, I was camping, and I knew I wanted to try and find an oathing stone, so I put it out there to Spirit and let Spirit guide me, and within 2 minutes this is what I had found, this beautiful oathing stone. And so you'll have heard the phrase set in stone, that's where this comes from. And so during your ceremony I would hold the oathing stone, or maybe members of your family would come up and hold the oathing stone, somebody important to you, and you would each put your hands on top of the stone and you would say your vows to each other, and that would be them set in stone. So again, a really beautiful ritual to have as part of your ceremony. Keeping on the theme of stone, this is a new addition that I just got yesterday, and the stone here in the Outer Hebrides is among some of the oldest in the world, 3 billion years old, some of it, and so I bought this. There's a company here takes that stone and shapes it, and so this is going to be called my ring stone. And the idea is that whoever is in charge of your rings, be it your best man, your best woman, your wee flower people, or ring security, will bring them forward and they'll place them in the ring stone, and they'll be held in there and they will be blessed. And you could also, because I often get asked by couples that they would like to do a guest blessing on the rings, but they don't want the guests touching the rings, so this is another way we can do that, and guests can hold the stone and say a blessing to the rings, or just give a wee silent blessing to the rings, rather than them actually touch your rings. So this is a new addition, and I absolutely love this. And then there's the Quake ceremony, and this is a Quake. As you can see, a big one and a wee one. You get them all different sizes. These are handmade for me. They're made down in Ayrshire, which is where I come from, and they're very beautiful. But again, quakes have been used for centuries here in Scotland as a way of welcoming people into your home, as a way of, because usually, you know, as you can imagine, again, it's very isolated up here. It might take people days to get here, and it might take them days to get where they're going next. And so as soon as they get through the door, a wee bit of brandy, it would be originally, now it's traditionally whiskey, but a wee bit of whiskey in the Quake, and offer it to them to warm them up. And so again, it's about breaking bread, you know, that idea of welcoming somebody into your home, into your life, and being willing to share what you've got with them. And so the Quake ceremony is all about sharing, it's about unity, you know, this sharing from drinking from the same cup. There's a wee bit of a more, what can I say, what's the idea, Game of Thrones history behind it, really, because if you can imagine centuries ago, if you were holding this with 2 hands, you were actually leaving yourself very vulnerable, and you couldn't get to your sword very quickly. So again, it was all about, if I'm willing to take this from you and drink from it, then what I'm saying is I trust you. And if I pour some whiskey in it and I take a sip and I offer it to you, I'm saying, look, I am trustworthy, because you can see it's not poisoned. So that's a wee bit of a darker history, but I'm happy to see us Scots are a wee bit more friendly now. And this is about sharing, it's about unity, it's about oneness, and it's a very beautiful, usually during your ceremony, this would be done either just with music playing in the background, me just saying a few words to you both as you take a drink. Maybe we're going to include your family members in it. Again, we can include all your guests if it's a smaller amount. It doesn't really work with 250 guests. But I often do this part in Scots, the Scots language, and I don't mean Gaelic. because I can't speak Gaelic, I mean Scots, and Scots was actually our national language throughout Scotland before we had the union with England in 1707, and it started to fade away, and we became, you know, English became the language that we used, and it became, Scots language actually became quite what we would call a chavvy language. It was used by poor people, poor communities, but actually it's a very beautiful language, and it's making a comeback, and I'm doing my wee part to try and help that along. And so I would often do this part in Scots language, and that's either me saying it or me saying a line and asking you to repeat it. So it'd just be something like, I offer ye a sip for the Quake, for to show that it's my ettle to aye be your mara. So I offer you a sip from the Quake to show that it's my intention to always be your love. And again, a very beautiful and meaningful ceremony to have. And so that's the Quake, the oathing stone, the handfasting ribbons, and the new ring stone, and you saw it first. And as I say, all very beautiful rituals. These are now all going to be taken, because I just purchased these yesterday. They're going to be taken up to the Callanish standing stones this afternoon. And the Callanish stones are some of the oldest standing stones in the world, I suppose. They are over 5,000 years old, and it's a very beautiful spot, very spiritual spot. If you get a chance to look it up online, please do, because it's a giant cross, and I mean a giant cross that's shaped like a giant Celtic cross, the stones with a ring of stones in the middle, and the tallest of them, which is huge, it must be 8 feet tall, it's called the Shaman, and it stands over all the other stones, and actually in front of it they found a burial chamber, so it was overlooking the burial chamber. That's all been emptied now, but the stones are there, and you can go and you could just be in their presence and feel their energy. And as I say, it's a very beautiful spiritual space, and it makes me think of all the ceremonies and the rituals that would have taken place there over the years. So all these items will be taken there this afternoon, and they will be blessed in a wee ceremony there. I was hoping to do it this morning at sunrise, but when I went up, because it's just along the road there, the gate was shut, so I'm going to go back this afternoon, and as I say, there will be a blessing just to ask that all couples who have their hands tied, or who drink from the Quake, or who place their rings in the ring stone, or indeed who say their vows into the oathing stone, are blessed by the ancients, blessed by the wisdom of all the couples who have gone before them, and they could take that blessing out into their married life together. So that's all the rituals, or some of the rituals. I hope that's been helpful. If you would like any more information, or you want to ask any questions, or indeed you're one of the celebrants from abroad who are thinking, I love the idea of this, but I just don't know what to say during the actual hand tying or whatever it is, please go to www.idoceremonies.co.uk. Remember, it's the Scottish I, A-Y-E, and you can leave me a wee message there. But that's all from me for now. Thank you for listening, and fair fall, which just means blessings.